This is Gfree Radio.
Now, last week we heard about being Gfree in Canada. We've had similar stories from people in the UK and the USA as well. This week, a different country and a different culture. What's it like being a celiac in the United Arab Emirates? I've been speaking to Linda from Gluten-Free UAE, and here's her story.
Actually, I'm from Sweden to begin with, I have itchy feet. So I spent 12 years in the UK, and then my feet got itchy again, and I came to Dubai and met my husband and got married, and here I am. I've been here, it will be 8 years in January. It's certainly different, and here you only have sort of summer and winter being like a British summer, I suppose. So it's dusty, it's sandy, not very green, but it has its charms, something that keeps people here. It's nice. It's different, but it's nice.
And it's your daughter who's got celiac disease, yeah? And was your daughter actually born out there?
She was born in the UAE. First we had my son, and then a couple of years later came little sister. And she was very, very angry and cranky, and I don't know. We were sort of like, we'd been smug parents before. We thought we were so good at this parenting lark because our son was very, very good and very, very easy. And then she came along and she was almost like a little monster. And as time went by, she became worse, not better. She didn't sleep, she didn't eat, she just screamed a lot. And then she started being sick a lot. Cutting a very, very long and horrible story short, just before her second birthday, she was diagnosed with celiac disease. And at that point, she'd been hospitalized so many times. I don't even know how many times. Towards the end, she was in the clinic at least once a week on an IV because her potassium levels were so low from constant vomiting and diarrhea. And I'd never heard about celiac disease. And then eventually we got told that that's what she had. So that was a bit of a slap in the face. I knew people were gluten-free. I knew some people had an issue with gluten, and I knew what gluten was. I thought I knew what gluten was. But I'd never heard of celiac disease. I had no idea that there was something to do with gluten. It was an autoimmune disease, which was different from an allergy, I had no idea.
And how well recognised is celiac disease amongst the doctors, the health professionals there?
It took a very long time. Here, mainly, especially as an expat, you find that you'll see other expat doctors. So I think it was part of it was just a communication thing. The doctor we were with and we were quite happy with didn't spot it. And then when she was hospitalized, it was various different hospitals and so many different doctors. And I think had they all just communicated to each other, they would have figured it out. But they didn't. And we thought that all the things she was hospitalized for were different things. And it's only once we had the diagnosis that it became clear that it was all linked together. But she had other issues as well because she was born prematurely. She had RSV as a very young child, which premature babies should never have. It's very dangerous. So we just put all the issues down to other things all the time, as did the doctors. Had she had a diagnosis maybe a year earlier than she did, maybe today we wouldn't have the issues that we still have. She's better now, obviously. She's a lot better, but she still does have issues. And she has damage to her lungs from her, I think it's 5 pneumonias she's had, and she's only 4.
So the clues were there?
Oh, they were all there. When they say you should never Google, but obviously you come home with this. I was given a piece of paper and said, don't give her any gluten, good luck. And that's what they sent me home with. So, of course, I Googled, and I found a list of 22 symptoms most common to celiac disease patients. And the only 2 symptoms she didn't have were delayed periods and infertility. And at times she wasn't even 2. So, she was a classic child, classic celiac disease child. You could tick every single box of what celiac disease in children looks like, and she fit the profile. And it was just a shame then that I hadn't heard of it, because maybe if I had, Mummy would have asked the right questions.
And very often when you hear of something for the first time, you then keep hearing about it, don't you? It's like so I've heard when you're pregnant, you keep seeing loads of other people who are pregnant, or you get a certain car and you keep seeing that make of car on the road. So was it like that with you, that once you heard specifically about celiac disease, more and more people came out of the woodwork?
Well, I kind of set out to find them, because I knew that we can't be alone. We can't be alone in this diagnosis. We can't be alone in this huge hardship that we're going through at the moment. There must be other people out there. And I tried to find them, and I found that there was no resources here in the UAE. There was nothing. There were no websites, no information to be had on the internet. There was no group, no support meetings, nothing at all. And I just desperately wanted what every mother wants for her children, which is for them to feel normal. You can't feel normal unless you have other people around you that are like you.
So presumably there's no reason to think that people with celiac disease, the number of people, is any lower in the UAE than anywhere else. What do we actually know?
Well, until recently, it was thought that Asians had a lower prevalence of celiac than other races. But recently, research has been found to suggest that it's just as high. So, I mean, they do think now that there's a huge closet number here. And I mean, if we talk about Western countries where over 95% of celiacs are undiagnosed, I mean, the numbers here must be even higher in that case, because very few people who have it know about it. So, yeah, I mean, it's just starting to become more widely recognized and more diagnosed, but there's still a huge number of doctors that believe it doesn't happen to Arabs or Asians or, people from other races. People think it's sort of a Nordic countries thing or Northern Europe.
And what's the diet there? That's presumably wheat-based. I can think of a lot of breads and so on, but cake and pasta?
Well, they eat, the Arabic bread is served with every meal, and it's the most floury bread imaginable. It's covered in flour. And other than that, there's plenty of wheat in the food. It's probably not, it's different from our kind of food, but I wouldn't say there's any less. There's plenty of couscous and different things to what we might be used to, but still with wheat.
And what were you eating at home?
I've always been one of those parents that won't let my children eat out or eat takeouts or burgers. Very boring for them, but no, I would cook most of their food. So very sort of Western diet, lots of pastas and bread, of course. So yeah, that all had to change very, very quickly.